It's okay, we've been here before. Carry on the light, they won't know it hurts more. We can pull apart time, this will last forever. You should learn to be kind, it always ends in fire. It's okay, we've been here before. Carry on the light, they won't know it hurts more. It's okay, we've been here before. Carry on the light, they won't know it hurts more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 350, 350. I feel like there should be some sort of party, but instead, we're just here again for the 350th time. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm Ben, and with me here today are the beautiful boys. We were just talking about some beer shenanigans right before the show started. But Brandon, how you doing tonight?
I'm actually pretty good.
Now, Brandon,
Go ahead.
we wasted some good material before the show.
That's true. That's true.
Could you fill us in a little bit?
No, I was just wondering. I really wanted a beer on tap, and I was asking Ben, with all of his beer knowledge, he ran his own brewery, what the logistics of getting one in the home would be, and we were talking about the cost per volume. And then I hatched an amazing idea that I could potentially put a tap right on my desk. And I think, the mini fridge is the first step to that. That's like the baby step, the inception of the idea of having the beer close. But if you had a tap directly attached to your desk, that's like reaching the peak of Mount Everest. That's as good as it gets. Only closely followed by putting a tap directly on your workbench or toolbox in the garage. Those are the two pinnacle male achievements. It's not winning war. It's not getting married and having a nice life and having kids and having a legacy. It's that. And if anybody tells you differently, it's a lie.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could probably equate some of them to each other.
No. No, not even close. having children and bearing life is old hat compared to putting the tap directly to the desk and or workbench. This is kind of like 4D chess type moves. This is like Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Oppenheimer. The idea is on that plane of existence
Brandon
and that
Duncan
plane of
is the next
thought.
name that comes up.
No, well, I haven't done it yet.
You've made you've made the statement that you're not sure that anyone else has ever done that before. I don't know for a fact whether anyone has, but it's really hard for me to think that no man or woman, but no man has ever thought, I want beer accessible at my desk at all times, and attached a spigot,
a tap.
Tap.
I'm just declaring that I'm the first person to ever think of this. And I had this idea independent. It just kind of like flowed into my mind. It was...
Well, I believe it was an independent thought.
I only have
Although Dave is the one who said you should get a kegerator, and then that kind of... So like you need to credit him with part of the patent, I think.
Everything is kind of like derivative. You know, a lot of things that have been created that have been wonderful are collaborations between great people.
Yeah.
And this is no different. This is no different.
There's really nothing new under the sun.
A Canadian and a ginger man, the most glorious ginger, may have come up with the most revolutionary idea since the toaster.
I think
we're gonna call your beer. Hold on, we got a name for your beer. Ginger Beaver.
Ginger Beaver.
The Ginger Beef.
I kind of already had a beer not named after me, but was associated with me because the beer was named what it was before I was on it. Long story. Sorry to bring it up, Ben.
No, it's fine. Do you have a can of it?
I have many cans of it.
Go.
Well,
what?
They're close. One of them exploded, and I had to throw it away.
Yeah.
Literally, I heard a pop. It startled me. It was loud enough that it startled me. And I have like this thing above a doorway that's like a little windowsill that I put some decorations on, including one of those because I have many cans. And it literally scared me. It was so loud. And then I just hear like liquid hitting the ground. And it was that can had exploded.
How long ago was that?
A couple months ago.
So Dustin had one of his explode too.
Yeah, I still have 3 cans and I'm just waiting for them to go.
So
they're very close. Talk about it. I'll go get it.
Statistically, I looked this up, and for a can to explode that long after it was canned is like statistically insignificant as far as probability of it actually happening.
So what causes it to explode? Is it just like expansion or?
Yeah, I mean, you could say it could be like live yeast in there. You see that? Every man's red.
Wow.
Brandon, right on the label. That was my brainchild right there.
Maybe I shouldn't shake it. Maybe I shouldn't shake it.
That's excellent.
Next to my setup.
So, but I looked around and did some research, and for something to explode 6 months or a year even after it's canned is not that weird. Like, it shouldn't happen, but it's not that weird. It's been 5+ years since that was canned, and for you and Dustin to have a can explode apparently weeks apart from each other, the statistical likelihood of that happening is like through the roof.
Yeah,
low,
it's
through the floor.
The longer it sits, the less likely it is to explode, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Got it.
What I'll tell you about the beer itself, though, is it was everywhere. It was all over my floor, and it still smelled exactly like beer. I didn't try it because it's very old at this point.
It would still taste good. It would be maybe a little flat, but
I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't think it was going to be like rancid or anything like that, but it literally just smelled like beer, which I guess makes sense from what it is. But yeah, it is pretty weird that what I will say about the placement in our homes of where the two that exploded were very similar. His was on top of his shelf thing there, Ben.
Yep.
Mine was very high up. So I wonder if it has something to do with the heat rising, if it's closer to the ceiling. Maybe it has a higher ambient temperature. All of my other ones are located around hip level.
It could. That doesn't seem like enough of a difference to make an impact, but it could.
I think it's more likely a haunting.
Yeah.
The ghost of Reclamation Brew.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
This is such a scientific episode. I feel like we're like cracking the code on something.
Yeah.
Dave, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just you mentioned that we had gold before we started recording, and that happens a lot. I kind of wish there was like uncut director's stuff that we could, record. And
I mean, we
people
also
could
said
listen
some
to.
stuff we definitely don't want broadcast to the world.
We used to have a separate show for that, but no, I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
I've got my Twitch on here, and for anyone, there's nothing good on Twitch right now. So
What about Megabonk? You could watch some Megabonk.
yeah, I'm good. I'm happy to see you both, but I want to aside something real quick. For those of you who were listening last week, Ben and I had an argument about some nouns and their uses of verbs. I don't know if you remember, Ben, but you said pretty strongly that barbecuing was not the correct term to use unless you're making traditional barbecue. If you're just using the barbecue to heat up some food, it's grilling,
What I specifically said is cooking hamburgers on a grill is not barbecue.
which is using a barbecue. So we put it out to the experts, which is our Discord, and
The audience.
I'm sorry to say, Ben, that we failed to reach a consensus. And I went a step further and I consulted another source, which is a dictionary, and it turns out both are correct. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of words in the dictionary that I would not consider real words, and I also consider the three of us significantly smarter than anyone in our Discord.
So there's another word in the
don't know about that.
dictionary that you can use now, which is apology, because I think I was correct here, and you can say barbecuing, you can say grilling. It doesn't matter, people.
But it does matter because I had to ask what you were doing, and then you had to explain it to me, which meant that you weren't barbecuing, or I would have known what you were doing.
But is that on me,
Yeah.
or is that
Hold
on your understanding of the word?
Dave,
My
Society
understanding
can't
is the
just
definition.
accommodate you here, Ben. Brandon, chime in here.
according to the Cambridge Dictionary, skibbity is in it. So I don't know that I can really take the dictionary for what it is. I'm going to omit this. The dictionary might as well be Wikipedia at this point, because if skibbity is included in there, a lot of my advisors are telling me Cambridge Dictionary. We cannot take this, David. Skibbity. What say you on this, about this new information Google AI has given me?
So you got it from Google AI, that skibbity is in the Cambridge Dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think when Cambridge Dictionary was a reputable source of information, the barbecuing, grilling, noun, verbiage usage was probably still the same. So I think it's a good source, but in any case, it was tough to find a lot of people. And I asked a lot of other people outside of our Discord. I asked an Italian. I asked a French Canadian. That's not great for much, but
Two of the worst people.
It kept coming back. Barbecuing is fine. Barbecuing is fine, even if you're not making traditional barbecue. If you're using a barbecue, it's okay to say barbecue. You don't have to say grilling.
But my point is, I'm contesting the fact that what you're calling a barbecue is a barbecue.
Okay,
It's a grill.
it's a barbecue has a grill.
Yes.
No.
A square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square.
No, so a triangle is a circle because you can put a circle in a triangle.
No, it's not the same thing. I wouldn't say I can put a duck in a heater, and therefore
can't.
the duck is a heater.
What?
Literally the first two words that came to my mind that weren't the same thing. I don't know what's going on in there.
I don't think we're going to agree here, people, but I just wanted to update that. And I thank the Discord and the community for chiming in so passionately about that.
All you've done here is cause dissent and disruption, David. We haven't solved anything.
Now I'm more aggravated than ever. I'm not even putting a tab on my desk anymore.
Look what you've done, Dave. All because you're Canadian. And by the way, you made it sound I asked an Italian and a French Canadian. They're both Canadian. They both live in Burlington. I guarantee it.
That's where the coat factory is.
Not that Burlington, but sure.
You can't prove that. This is the HP podcast.
We made it.
Episode number 350. We talk about video games from time to time. Surprisingly, this week we don't have a lot of video games to talk about. There's some news stories, and we'll probably still spend the entire time talking about them. But I did want to reflect on 350 episodes. Dave, do you have anything to say?
We made it. Halfway to 700. I feel like we just did the 300th episode with Phil, like not that long ago. But yeah, we're getting close to 400.
Approximately a year ago, yeah.
Yeah, I've been, you know, Ben, you've been here since day one, and Brandon, you've been doing this shortly after. So, I haven't been here as long as you guys have, but it's pretty crazy. Not many podcasts go for 350 episodes. So I appreciate your efforts, and I appreciate everybody listening. And as I said a couple nights ago when we were talking, it's fun to hang out with the boys. So to say we've done that 350 times over several years is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've done this show every week with the exception of like one or two for 350 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I've missed two, all within a 12-month period. You guys haven't missed much more than that. It's pretty consistent, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brandon, before the HP podcast, there was another. There were several others, actually.
There were a couple. But yeah, it's crazy to think that we're doing this and that it's stuck around for so long. I'm very grateful to come here and talk with you guys and hang out. And it's had some personnel changes over the years, but it's been really fun to kind of keep up with it in general. Before that was Adventure Mode. And then there was the kind of whole rebrand into the HP podcast that's going way back. And before that was Polymath. That's the deepest cut of all, is the Polymath podcast. That was many, many, many moons ago. A lot of really
lifetime
good memories.
downloads, 14.
Probably.
No,
It was a passion project, truly.
So is this. So is
True.
this.
And I think crazy enough is that I'm pretty sure we got Colin on Polymath.
I think you guys had a few notable people on there.
If I'm remembering correctly, which is kind of crazy how things kind of changed in that amount of time. But yeah, that was a passion project way back with some friends that are no longer friends for a good reason. And I'm very grateful to be with the people I am here today. People come and go, but this is a crowning achievement, boys. So we can bask in it here a little bit. And we can all agree that a barbecue and a grill are not the same thing.
I talked to Phil last week, by the way.
Did you?
Or maybe it was even this week. I don't remember. Yeah, I was doing a seance.
Oh, you got the Ouija. Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, he texted me about something.
Taylor Swift, probably.
No, not actually. Believe it or not, somehow.
I haven't talked to him in so long.
Yeah, I've talked to him a few times in the last year or so.
Yeah.
But he's doing all right.
Did
For
I
all
tell you
those of you
about-
who are worried.
Did I tell you about his wife doing those like mystery parties?
Yeah.
She tried to get
Eyes wide shut style.
What's that?
Eyes wide shut.
I don't know what that is.
It's a movie. Look it up.
Sure. Yeah, she tried to invite me to one, and it was when I was working weekends, and she's like, "Oh, do you have this weekend off?" And I work for 14-hour days on the weekends. There's literally no time for me to do anything other than drive home and go to bed. She's like, "Do you have this weekend off?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Do you have the next weekend off?" And I'm like, "No." She's like trying to plan this around. I'm like, "I don't know what you want me to do. I work 3 weekends in a row. That's just how my schedule goes." I felt kind of bad, but I haven't heard from either one of them. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear they're well.
Oh, seem to be. I guess it's about time to talk about some news. Ed says Ben's ties to the underworld are so strong he can receive text from the dead. No, it was a seance. I had to put the candles up. It didn't work without them.
I really didn't want to kill that goat, but I did it.
Yes, you did.
Glenn Israel on LinkedIn says, as of today and after 17 long years, I am officially no longer contributing to the Halo universe. There's little more I can say for the moment, though I intend to share this particular story in its entirety when it is absolutely safe to do so next year. In the meantime, I have a message for anyone and everyone who needs to hear it. I know that the state of our industry seems dire, but never forget that you are free to choose. No illusion of security nor promise of wealth or fame or power is worth trading away your health, your dignity, your ethics, or values, and no one can force you to. Stay strong, take evidence when necessary, and find where you belong. This is the former Halo art director who had been with the studio for 17 years. And he's like, peace. I am not suicidal. Basically, that was like his message here. And as far as I'm reading into it, Dave, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, legendary art design and been around a long, long time, almost since the beginning of the Halo franchise. But this is a little bit of a weird goodbye, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of reading it as I'm out. I signed an NDA or they're still paying me until next year. So stay tuned until then because I'm going to have a really juicy piece for Jason Schreier or something like that. But the way he's worded it and the fact that it was posted on LinkedIn makes me think that he's really kind of targeting other developers for his message who probably work in or for large companies that maybe started off small and have ballooned or have been acquired. But he's clearly kind of taking some cryptic, subtle parting shots at Microsoft and I guess 343. I don't know if it's at them directly, but it's also kind of an interesting perspective on like him as a game developer from the late 2000s and early 2010s into now. And I think of like the golden age of Halo and like 2008, 2009, 2010. And that to me doesn't seem that long ago. But when I kind of think about the games that were popular in and around that time and where we are now, it's like how much the industry has changed. And it's really sad to me because like the games that he made so great, like they wouldn't be as successful now as they were then because the way that we play video games now is so different. So it's kind of sad to see this and see someone from this era kind of fade away. And he's got like the open to work thing on his LinkedIn profile. So I don't know if this guy's going to go anywhere, but it really kind of, to me, and again, I don't know if this was the intention behind his meaning, but it really, to me, kind of further signified like the evolution we're going through in video games where like the stuff that I grew up on in, again, those golden ages, Halo and Fallout and like stuff like that, it's not the same anymore and it's gone. And we'll always have those times and we can still go back and play those games, but we sometimes see developers try to recreate those kinds of games now and it's not the same. So it's I don't know, it's sad to see these guys sort of slowly fade into obscurity, but as based on what he said, like the industry has changed so much where they don't even find it healthy to work in anymore. So yeah, but in any case, I'll be very interested to see what story he ultimately kind of tells about his last year or so at 343 and Microsoft. And I don't know, if you are a new developer in the industry or you're looking at jobs with a big company, like read this kind of stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean like don't go work for a big company, but stand up for yourself and make choices and talk to other peers outside of your company and stuff like that, because these are things you need to hear and things you kind of need to keep front of mind. So rip, I suppose.
Brandon, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously this is a bit of a backhanded statement a little bit. I think that the wording of this, and I might be kind of just like, tinfoil hatting this a little bit, but I feel like sometimes whenever you say things that are very PR, you try and get your message across and dilute it with things that make it seem more broad. But I believe there are some nuggets of more direct, backhanded things in here. Like, for instance, you're free to choose. Clearly, he's making the decision to step away. No illusion of security nor promise of wealth. We could think a lot about developers, putting things like microtransactions in their game, being promised big things to take away all the passion in the project. Your health, we've heard about these awful crunch hours that some companies are forcing upon their employees. Your dignity, you're asked to do things not for the passion of the project, but for the pure consumption of the thing and the distribution of wealth. That goes with ethics as well and your values. He's really giving a message of like, you are the power here. I mean, in reality, if we get more of the people actually making these things to have this sort of mentality, the power is in the people that make it, not the people that give the money, because the people are going to give the money no matter what. It's just going to be somebody, but that's not the talent here. That's not the people that get it to the finish line. They just help it along. So I don't know, man. I feel like there is a little bit of truth in here. I mean, the whole thing's truthful, obviously, to him, but he has to be kind of careful about how he tiptoes around this. David mentioned he's probably still getting some sort of paycheck, and Schreier will probably pick up something at some point. I completely agree with that, but I feel like there is a little bit more truths in here hidden between the lines that I'm kind of picking up on this LinkedIn post here. So yeah, I mean, it is very interesting and kind of troubling that somebody that's been with you for so long is saying things like he wants to keep his dignity, he wants to keep his ethics and his values when he parts your company. I feel like that's kind of like a huge red flag to me. And I feel like even though it's masked in some broader terms, I feel like there is some things that scream out to me in this post that kind of indicate the potential situations he's been put in recently, and why he ultimately made the decision he did.
6 hours ago, Glenn posted on LinkedIn a follow-up and said, "Here's a public service announcement for workers in the state of Washington. Did you know that under Revised Code of Washington, Title 49, Chapter 12, Section 250, you have the right to request a copy of your personnel file from a current or former employer within a 2-year window to correct or rebut any, quote, erroneous or disputed information, end quote, found within it. You might be wondering how this is useful, so I'll provide a hypothetical example. Let's suppose you have filed several evidence-backed complaints with your corporate human resources department, and an HR representative in turn reports your evidence as a violation of confidentiality. This is a retaliatory action known colloquially as papering your file, an attempt on the HR representative's part to create the appearance of your misconduct and justify further action against you. In this instance, it's plainly false. Confidentiality does not automatically attach itself to evidence of unethical or unlawful behavior. And under RCW 49.12.250, you have the right to request your personnel file and append an appropriate statement of rebuttal to said report. Now, in theory, your employer must provide your file within 21 calendar days or face penalties. Unfortunately, the current penalties are trifling, and the only remedy under the law written is under the law as written is civil litigation, which you likely can't afford and isn't necessarily worth your while. So if this information seems useful to the future you, perhaps consider writing to your congresspeople now. Seems a little, pointed there as well. Like maybe this is what he went through, but just conjecture. And who knows? Maybe he's the wrong one.
Could be.
Not going to assign any guilt to anybody at all. Just, stating some facts here.
Interesting. And to step away from something you've been a part of for so long and clearly you have passion for is kind of meaningful. Regardless of who's in the right or wrong, I think that him leaving in this way is definitely a sign. Who knows what it is, I guess, so far. But interesting stuff.
Let's move on to the next one. By the way, one of the first comments, let me just find it exactly. One of the first comments on the episode from last week was, where is it? You guys are so miserable and negative to listen to, had to stop after 10 minutes.
Nice.
So I just thought you guys should know.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, thanks for, reminding me.
Yeah.
That was last week?
That was last week.
Oh, okay. It's the barbecue stuff, probably. I don't blame them.
It was probably about the barbecue stuff, yeah.
Google, show me this guy's balls.
Uh, Speaking of negativity, Power Up Gaming says Xbox hardware is out of stock across most of Europe. Microsoft's online storefronts throughout most of Europe no longer have inventory of Xbox Series X and S consoles. First spotted by user Windrunner Sly on Resetera. Most of Microsoft's regional stores in European countries have Xbox Series models listed as either out of stock or direct users to a product page with 0 items. Interestingly, this is true even for refurbished models. According to the user, hardware can still be purchased directly from regional stores in France, Germany, United Kingdom, and Republic of Ireland. I've personally confirmed that the UK, Germany, and France stores still have Xbox consoles in stock. Some other stores I've checked include Spain, the Czech Republic, and Denmark, which have Xbox consoles listed as out of stock. The stores in Italy and Austria no longer have Xbox consoles in their products lists. We saw last week and the week before a bunch of stories about Xbox being pulled from Costco. We saw last week some more stuff about maybe Target and even Walmart weren't going to carry Xbox. There's conflicting reports. Some still are, some aren't. But one thing remains true. There are less and less Xbox consoles being sold. And there will be even less if they are stopped being carried in retail stores and online. Brandon, what are your thoughts about this?
This is a continued little bit about the Costco that we talked a couple weeks ago about. This is bad news for Xbox. This is very, very bad news for Xbox. I think a lot of major carriers not allowing you to sell your product in their store is incredibly detrimental. And I just wonder how Xbox is going to kind of fight back against this. I mean, in some semblance of this, in an ideal world for Xbox, they won't have to pay an extra price to have these things in people's stores, right? Because those people are taking a cut. That's just how it goes. And you're going to buy directly from Xbox. So I think that's maybe what they're hoping for and will be best case scenario for them. But the reality is you're going to sell less overall, period. It's not going to be in front of people's faces. And I think the value of that, even in the digital age that we live in with buying things online, I think that going into a store and seeing this sort of thing, there's still a value in that. In having retail space, having physical placement in stores is still very valuable, even in spite of how online everything is. And so I think this is a huge, very negative thing for Xbox. And I don't really know how they come back from this. It's kind of a domino effect that has continued to fall. And I don't know, man. It's not good. It's really not good, especially for someone who is a fan of Xbox, period. They have so much IP at this point. It is a bad thing. We're going to continue to see layoffs and studio closures and IPs not get the attention they deserve because they're selling less. And obviously, this is more of a long-term effect. But the reality is this is what happens. And yeah, it's not good, man.
Do you think they are selling less? Because I think that consoles are kind of sold at. I shouldn't say are they selling less. Clearly, if there are no consoles available, they're selling less consoles.
Right.
Are they making less though? Because we know that consoles are sold at a very small profit, if not a loss. And we know, I don't think this generation is as a loss, but it has been in past generations. We know that they're trying to grow their subscriber base and selling games on other platforms that have been successful. So, yeah, it probably will. They'll somehow justify it to close studios and do layoffs and stuff like that. But is it because of console sales or lack thereof? Or is it just because it's business and sometimes that's how business goes? Dave?
Yeah, I'll touch on that in a second, but we have to point out that this is another win for Brandon Duncan because his Halo-themed Xbox Series X that's still in the plastic, a couple weeks ago it shot up in price, so it appreciated in value, and now it's more scarce. So look at you, Brandon. You've held on to that a couple years longer, and it's going to be a pretty hot commodity.
I'm pretty sure, in fairness, Brandon's is a limited edition that hasn't been sold in 5 years.
There you go.
Investment, baby. Invest. Invest.
Yeah, I think, Ben, I was thinking along similar lines that you were, and you mentioned the Costco thing from a couple weeks ago, and I think a lot of the speculation is the console was selling so poorly and Costco knew about the price hike in both the hardware and Game Pass that they said, forget it, it's taking up too much space. We don't want it off our shelves. But what this story suggests is maybe inventory is starting to drop. And I would love to see what Microsoft's production trends have been over the last couple of years, because that might give us some hints in, what their strategy has been. Speaking of strategy, they Microsoft has seemed kind of like all over the place, but they still are a really big company with lots of resources and lots of smart people. So maybe this is part of their strategy. Let's move some of our previously exclusive franchises to other consoles. We know that the Series X and S is not selling nearly as well as our competitors off the markets, our other competitors on the market. So let's start to reduce our production levels, start to commit production to whatever is coming next for them. And now we're starting to see retailers drop the hardware and it's starting to sell out, and kind of like some manufactured scarcity, but not in the kind of traditional way that you would see that. So I don't know. Maybe the pieces are starting to come together to make me think that this is part of Microsoft's plan. Is, a couple years ago, they decided this thing isn't selling well. Holding inventory is really expensive, not just for us, but also for our retail partners. So let's start to scale down production, move stuff out the door. The only thing that is kind of weird is like increasing the price of the hardware, because you'd think if you wanted to clear it out that you would drop the price. But in any case, I would really love to see what Microsoft's productions has been on their consoles over the past couple of years, because I wouldn't be surprised if they started to scale back a while ago on making new Xboxes. But yeah, I think we're gonna know more in the next 12 months of what the real next gen hardware plans are. And I think all we're really getting at this point is kind of breadcrumbs. But what we can safely say is Brandon has made an excellent investment, and we should all applaud him. So good for you, buddy. This is a sign that the kegerator, the desk beer dispensing system, is a no-brainer. That's another investment that you should make.
Yeah, you should
That's
put
an
a
investment
barbecue
in
up there by it too.
That's an investment in myself.
Can you clarify what you mean, Ben?
No. You got to do both.
I actually don't know.
There were some reports that Xbox had stopped manufacturing hardware, and I don't know if I believe that or not. I didn't really look into the validity of them, but it wouldn't surprise me, I guess. This I don't think is what they're doing, but what world would Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo love to have if the only way you could get any first-party games or hardware was directly from them?
That's kind of what I was saying. Like I feel like that has to be detrimental to them, but I guess if you take the hit and then start to shift towards that model, I mean, maybe it'll pay off in the long run. Maybe that's the idea, but I feel like
you can't buy the box from Best Buy or Walmart or Costco. You have to go to Sony or Microsoft. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not saying that is the case currently. I'm saying I bet they would love it if they could financially.
Okay, I
Yeah.
understand. Got it.
Like right now, they have to send it to retailers, and they have to, by virtue of that, take a cut in what they're receiving. Remember when Sony came out with their Sony Direct, you could start buying things directly from them, and you know that they're making more money on those per unit, hypothetically, I guess, than they were when they were selling them through Walmart or whatever. Because they can't sell it to Walmart for $500 and then Walmart sell it for $500. Nobody makes a profit. Actually, people lose money there. Or I'm sorry, Sony makes a profit still, but Walmart doesn't. So why would they bother doing it? Now, I don't know that those margins are very big. It's more about quantity. But I was just saying, if I'm Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, whatever, if I'm any manufacturer, I'm thinking, how can I get people to come directly to me rather than having to take a cut on these retailers? But I don't think they're worried about their hardware at all at this point.
Yeah, and I think that added cut that Sony or Microsoft then takes in, that becomes a cost in managing that part of the supply chain, right? And I guess that's one of the advantages of going through the big retailers is they pay for all that stuff, Mm-hmm. And but hey, maybe the cut is bigger than we think. Makes sense.
I noted on games it's very, very small.
Right.
like to the extent that a lot of independent game stores can't buy in enough quantity to get any significant discount, so they're paying $1 or $2 less for physical copies, and they're really just having them there to get people in the store and hopefully buy their old stuff that they bought for pennies on the dollar of what they're worth. From PCGamer.com says Remedy issues a profit warning after FBC Firebreak's big overhaul fails to turn things around. Just shy of 2 weeks after launching its bold gambit to save the multiplayer shooter FBC Firebreak, says the game is still underperforming. To the point that the studio has issued a profit warning for 2025 and said it's going to eat a big loss on the whole thing. The Control spin-off shooter FBC Firebreak stumbled badly at launch, putting a peak concurrent player count on Steam of just under 2,000 on release day, and quickly slumping to under 100 less than a month later. Remedy fired out some quick patches and committed to more significant changes, the first of which went live near the end of September. That sparked a small bump in the concurrent player count, but it quickly slumped back down to double-digit numbers. Remedy's next quarterly financial report is set for October 29, but it's not waiting until then to deliver the bad news. In its 2025 half-year financial report, Remedy reported that FBC Firebreak's launch phase consumer sales underperformed, the studio said in today's update. After the launch, the company rapidly developed the game based on player feedback and released multiple updates. Guys, this game kind of came and went for me. Like, I saw it originally and I was like, oh, it's Remedy. It's a shooter. I'll probably check that out. And then I just didn't care at all when it came out. And it seems like nobody else did either. Did anybody check this out or even like watch streams of it or anything? Dave?
Yeah, I was interested. And Jake Baldino, in his review of it, he said it kind of came off as like this fusion of Deep Rock and Left 4 Dead, which that sounds fucking awesome. But it was like, you know, a bunch of like dumb workers put in like this hazardous environment to clean up a mess. It's kind of like Deep Rock is, but with a little bit more focus on combat and shooting and stuff. So I was interested, and I once again consulted the Discord and just kind of asked, did anybody play this? Did anybody check this out? And I kind of got some mess and stuff. And with a game like this, what I do is I look at the charts, the player charts, because, you know, as good as a game like this might be, if it doesn't have a community right off the bat, it doesn't have to be a big community, but it has to have a player base that's strong enough to kind of withhold it so that it can be supported. If it doesn't have that, then it's like, I don't really want to make the investment, because this game, a la Anthem, or sorry, not Anthem, Concord, could go away pretty quickly. I guess Anthem falls in that category too. But I'm kind of just at this point where, like, I'm really wary about these kind of games because they can come and go so quickly that unless it's a hit, I'm not willing to take the risk, especially if it's not free to play or on subscription services. And I don't know if this one was, but the other reason why I didn't really get into it was because I just didn't understand it. I knew it was kind of a spin-off from the Control universe, and I hadn't really played Control, but looking at this game and knowing what I knew about Control, I didn't really understand tonally how it made sense, because Control was like very serious sci-fi, kind of mind-bending, whereas this kind of seemed more Deep Rock-ish. Like, it kind of seems humorish, and it just I didn't tonally understand the parallels. So for me, it just kind of seemed odd, and it's just it seems like a risk that Remedy tried to take that ultimately isn't going to pay off. And I think this isn't what I expect from Remedy. I expect stuff like Control or Alan Wake or stuff like that. So, you know, this game looked cool, but I'm unfortunately not surprised that it hasn't succeeded. I guess it could still have a chance, but I don't know. And I feel like Remedy is the kind of studio that like is sensitive to these kind of things, because we've heard in the past how you know, they've almost gone bankrupt on some of the titles that have ended up having really long sales tails, like, you know, the Alan Wake sequel, or again Control. So it was surprising to see them do something like this. But yeah, I was interested in this, but ultimately didn't take the plunge because I didn't think it was going to be around that long, and this kind of suggests like it's not going to be around that long.
Brandon, what are your thoughts?
I don't have many thoughts ever, but especially about this game. there's about 1 million shooters out there anymore. And it really takes an established IP or something very interesting, a hook, so to speak, to kind of get people in. And to be completely frank with you, I don't know next to anything about this game whatsoever. I'm familiar with Remedy's work. I personally haven't had a lot of experience with it, but even as someone who is a avid first-person shooter fan, this kind of flew over my radar. And so I feel like that's telling. Clearly, the experience wasn't good enough to create buzz that intrigued me, and the lead up or the press cycle didn't do that either. So we're kind of in a bit of a pickle if someone like me, a first-person enthusiast who is more actively in the space than your average Joe, is having trouble recollecting what your game is. Period. Then that kind of speaks for itself. So. Also aside, somebody's fucking playing drums in my backyard or something. I swear to God, like I hear somebody playing drums outside.
Is it your beer exploding?
No,
Possibly?
dude, I thought I was losing my mind. And it's not just music. Like I could hear the bass drum. It's not just like general buzz. Like somebody is playing drums in my neighbor's backyard. I swear to Christ.
If it makes you feel any better, we can't hear it, or I can't. I don't know about that.
I can't hear it either.
It's not as loud as the train.
No.
we know.
Yeah, it's either that or the schizophrenia meds are wearing off. But I just took them, so I think we're good there.
Real quick for the people in live chat, Derek, Raddick, Ed. Have you noticed any interruption like in the last 5 minutes in the stream? I'm getting like weird errors thrown at me, but it seems to be fine. So
I still have it running. It looks fine to me.
okay,
I
good
just
enough for
leave it
me.
up to make sure it doesn't look like shit or something. So
Cool. No, I'm still watching. Nope. Okay, perfect. No big deal. My browser must have just been freaking out or something.
it's Raddick is saying YouTube's down for everyone else. I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Maybe he's trolling.
Raddick?
No, couldn't be.
That's my boy.
All right.
Oh,
Raddick
no.
could be my son.
Hold up. He said dead ass, so I actually know he's not kidding. He actually, that is like the seal. You know when you get like a certified letter for Gen Alpha or whatever he is, that's like the certified letter or the certified check. If you put the dead ass on that, that's like
The Gen Z guarantee.
yeah, that's like a certificate of authenticity.
So YouTube is down for everybody.
Dead
Literally everyone except for us and the 7 people in chat right now.
Dude, we're dominating the charts right now.
GameSpot says that Battlefield 6 has a COD-like launch with 7 million copies sold in its first 5 days. EA has not announced any official sales data for Battlefield 6, but one report from an analyst claims the game may have approached a Call of Duty-sized launch with 6.5 million copies sold in its first few days. A day after publishing this story, the sales numbers were revised upwards to 7 million copies sold in the first 5 days. The game reached those sales numbers across all platforms, citing Alinea Analytics internal estimates. This would work to more than $350 million in gross revenue, according to Reese Elliott. It's closer to Call of Duty tier numbers than any of EA's premium shooter efforts so far. But the question now is whether or not EA can foster this successful launch into a platform that stands the test of time. The report also had a breakdown of sales by platform, with Steam accounting for 65.7% of sales, driving 3.5 million copies sold and more than $220 million in revenue. Next behind was PS5, which accounted for 1.5 million copies and made up 23.7% of total sales. Xbox Series X and S ranked third overall with 1.2 million units sold and a 19.6% share. Weirdly enough, they didn't mention the Nintendo Switch sales, so I'll just assume they're
That's a
pretty good.
shame. That's a shame.
On Steam specifically, Battlefield 6 is putting up big numbers, reaching a peak concurrent player record of more than 747,000. That's the most concurrent players on Steam for any EA game, even eclipsing the free-to-play Apex Legends, which the high for that was 624. Battlefield 6 Season 1 launches on October 28th, which is also the day the game's Battle Royale mode is rumored to launch. Season 1 will continue with Phase 2, Rogue Ops, on November 18th, followed by Winter Offensive on December 9th. These updates will add new maps, modes, and guns. Do you guys ever see, like on Twitter or something, some engagement baiter is like, I think literally today I saw Borderlands 4 has lost 90% of its player base since the game came out a month ago, and it's like, yeah,
People finish the game.
it's a single player game, dude.
Single player game. Yeah.
But I know that they'll be like, Battlefield has lost X amount of its player base once it's no longer 747,000, which I'm sure it's already not. That's just it's like, it's annoying to me, but I don't care. It's even more annoying to me that people take it seriously and respond to defend games when they know that, like, of course,
Dude,
it's lost. It's a single player
rage
game. It's
baiting.
lost 90%. Yeah,
It's rage baiting, bro.
and it apparently works.
It does. That's why people do it. It's so fucking effective. People get so angry. And it works. It absolutely works.
Now, Dave, you're not playing Battlefield 6. What do you think you've got to attribute to this success?
I think Battlefield, EA, DICE ultimately giving players what they asked for. I don't know if I'd go as far to say that Battlefield 2042 was, over the course of its lifespan, an objective failure. I think it started really bad, and I think they recovered in as much as they could. But I think they at least learned and listened to what people wanted. And leaderboard day one, big steps.
That's
So,
huge. That's
I
huge.
think-
Big ups.
I think there was a desire for going back to present or modern, boots on the ground, that kind of stuff. The Battlefield 3 and 4 era, and it was evident from the start that that's what we were getting. They didn't go over the top with the destruction, the levolution, all that kind of stuff. They just kind of kept it more about the competitive, large-scale nature of what has made Battlefield good. But I think they also saw an opportunity to bring a lot of COD people over. And I don't know if EA and DICE kind of really anticipated what the mood on COD was going to be in 2025, but in any case, they seem to have taken advantage of it. I'm hearing a lot of COD people kind of latching into this game, not just because it appears to be a quality game that had a really good launch, but also because it has things like close quarters at launch. Not many Battlefield games have that. They've always just kind of focused on the large scale, big Battlefield type games with like 60 to 100 people, massive maps, matches that take 30 minutes. And those are great. That's Battlefield, but it doesn't appeal to a large sector of kind of the market. So the fact that they're kind of giving a lot to a lot of different kinds of gamers, I think has really kind of set them up for success. But yeah, it's been great. I've been seeing the headlines, and I'm not seeing a lot of, we saw the normal, like, people waiting in queues on launch day, but other than that, it seems like technically this was a pretty good launch, and that kind of is a good way to start a game like this. So good for EA and DICE and the Battlefield gamers, because they are eating good right now. But I know both of you have been playing, and I purposely put this story at the end to lead into what you've been playing. So how are you guys liking it?
Yeah, not having a Battlefield game for years, and at that one that wasn't very good in between, and coming back with a better release is definitely a huge boon for this game. But Brandon, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? I know you have a little less time in the game than me. Tell me about what you've been playing, starting with Battlefield.
Yeah, I feel like I've said a lot of what I have to say. I'm going to say some, but literally it's bar for bar the beta, obviously with full fleshed out features and the entire game. I've not personally started the campaign. That kind of is something I'll do over time, but I really wanted to kind of hop into the MP, which is what gives these games the longest legs. The article here kind of questions how Battlefield will handle in EA the success of supporting this long term. And what I can say about Battlefield, even if this has been the best launch, and I will deem it the best launch, although it's not been a full week, the best launch they've had in probably close to a decade or more. If they're good at one thing, it's supporting their games for a long amount of time with decent or acceptable content and updates. So I don't know that I'm necessarily worried about that. I think that getting the launch out of their hair is really big. Um, but yeah, it's been great, man. I've played probably close to a dozen hours maybe now or something like that. Super duper solid. Some features that you kind of feel natural. The whole drag revive mechanic, it kind of feels so natural. It's almost hard to think that it wasn't there before. But it's a huge addition, and I, think is really wonderful. I have had little to no performance issues after adjusting my settings in this game. It runs like a champ. It plays like a champ. And I really have no complaints. I've been having a ton of fun with the MP. I've seen a lot of people complain about the progression system. Um, as usual, I mean, there's always someone to complain about something. It is a slow building one. I think we're so used to the Call of Duty unlocking, you know, 20 attachments in one really good match sort of thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to need to play the game at a bit of a slower pace. It kind of keeps the breadcrumbs going, and keeps your enjoyment going for longer and is more meaningful whenever you don't have a million things unlock at your screen at one time. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I have no complaints whatsoever. I'm really interested to see how they continue to roll out content, whether that be a BR or a battle pass or, whatever might be. But I think it's incredibly solid, and I'm very grateful as a huge fan of Battlefield 4 specifically to be playing something that feels like almost a love letter to that, really, and kind of back to what I felt then. Even playing with friends, I mean, it kind of feels kind of similar in that way as well. So it's a bit nostalgic.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm really terrible at Battlefield. I feel like I was definitely much better. The last Battlefield game I really played a lot of, which was Bad Company 2, but that's also because I was much younger and had better reflexes, I like to think. But no, it's great. I'm having a good time. It's fun to play with the boys. The shooting feels awesome. The other mechanics feel great, as Brandon mentioned, with the reses and the dragging. Feels very natural. Destruction is, of course, top notch, as it has been for many iterations of these games. The driving, the weapons. The only real big issue I'm having, and I think once again this is just due to me not being a savant at this game, or any game for that matter, is just like I'm constantly dying before I'm even seeing a person, despite them standing in front of me. And I've seen other people complaining about this too. There may be something there, but I don't think it's actually a real issue. I think it's just getting used to something else, getting adjusted to it. I normally have a lot more to say about games, but as of right now, I don't have a lot to say about this. If you've played Battlefield ever, you know what I mean. And it's like this was a really good iteration of it. The different modes are phenomenal. The ability to shake up things from time to time when you feel the need to is nice. The weapons all feel good. They all are satisfying in their own way. The amount of attachments is probably, once everything's unlocked, is probably a little bit overwhelming in my opinion. But as Brandon was mentioning, you don't unlock a million things right away. So you have time to experiment with those as you unlock them and as you get adjusted to them. And that's sorely needed in many shooters, in my opinion, especially when we're talking about Call of Duty, which we love, but sorry, Call of Duty, I'm not buying you this year. It's just not happening unless something crazy happens and I change my mind at the last minute. I am excited to see what the Battle Royale looks like for Battlefield. I think, if anything, that will bring some new, more life into the game, because, of course, people are going to play the Battle Royale for free, and then some of them will end up coming into the multiplayer, buying the full game, etc. So that should be a good time. But I don't anticipate, at least for a few weeks, really slowing down on this, because it's just great fun. And I will say that I love the strategy in Battlefield, and I always have. In Call of Duty, there's strategy and there's objectives, but you're really just running around. shooting guys. And the majority of people are running around shooting guys regardless of the objective. Still play the objective maybe sometimes, but the goal is to just shoot guys. That's the culture that's been around Call of Duty for a long time. Battlefield, you have some of those people coming over and you have some of that mentality. And even sometimes I fall into it myself. But it is so much more rewarding to play objective in this game that so many more people are encouraged to do it. And it makes the games more strategic. I mean, there's still, goofing around, talking crap with your buddies about whatever. But like most of the time when we're playing, we're talking about what's happening in the game, which is not usually the case with Call of Duty. So that's cool too, just that there's a little bit more strategic piece to it. Overall, I'm really enjoying it. I'll keep playing it for a while, maybe longer. That's about it. Dave, do you have any questions for us? Would you like to interview us about our time with Battlefield? I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
No. I mean, in my experience with Battlefield, I felt the same way. Like, I'm really bad at getting kills, but there's so much other stuff you can do in Battlefields to climb the leaderboard, like repair stuff or revive people or capture objectives or spot. I'm like a serial spotter. I know that's changed slightly, but
you're a peeping Tom.
Yeah, a voyeur.
A peeping Dave.
Yeah, so I'll hop in at some point, but yeah, I'm glad to hear you guys are having a good time. I hope somebody streams it tonight because I like to watch.
Yeah. I saw a guy online that was doing a two-man. His buddy was sniping, and there are attachments to help you zero the scope, but he was having his buddy manually spot for him. So he'd spot a guy and be like, all right, he's at 300 meters. And then he would watch it on the thermal cam and just see his buddy fucking take it out. It felt so tactical and cool. And that's just something you don't get that in games like Call of Duty. You just don't. It's so much more rewarding. You are absolutely right there. And you get moments like that.
My favorite clip I've seen this week is a guy running around with a blowtorch, which you're supposed to use as the engineer to repair your tanks and your equipment. And he was using a blowtorch against enemy tanks and took out 2 back to back. That was pretty sick. I didn't even know you could damage an enemy vehicle with the blowtorch.
Yeah. Well, dude, last night, Ben, you spawned into my tank. I had a really good tank driver or like a vehicle driver, and there is a difference. Like earlier today, I hopped in a helicopter and he drove me across the map to then throw it off the edge because he just wanted to get on the other across the map, and then I died, right? But I had a good tank driver, and he put us right up on like a flank where the enemy was spawning, and I was just going ham on the machine gun on these guys. Very cinematic. It's a very cinematic game in a lot of ways that just cannot be replicated in games of this genre. I mean, some of the things that get set up is crazy.
Yeah. Brandon, have you been playing anything else? I know you. This is one of your weird weekends where you have to work the whole weekend. But anything else?
Yeah. So I did play a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm almost done. I believe, based on the dialogue, that I've got to the last mission. Because you know the thing the video games do where it's like, wrap up anything if you want. Like, I got that line of dialogue, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm at the end. I haven't really looked up stuff about the end. We've just kind of been playing. So after a little over 70 hours, with 3 people total, with their own separate lives, it's amazing that we've made it through this journey together. Something I will mention without getting into any spoilers whatsoever is that I romanced Karlak, which actually, even though she is my favorite of the companions and wholeheartedly would be the choice I would make every time if I had to choose between any of them individually, I found out some things about her story, and I've read some things online that make me believe that Ilarion gave her story way less love than some of the other companions. I was seeing conjecture that she was one of the later companions added to the story, and so her stuff is like way less fleshed out. So that's kind of disappointing.
Have you ever seen pictures of Karlak before, like right up until the point where the game came out?
No.
She did not look like Karlak looks now. She looked like
really?
NPC almost, yeah.
Really? Yeah, so that's kind of frustrating because I didn't want to spoil it for myself, so I didn't look anything up. And I've gotten to the end now, and I've looked up the options for this companion, and it's not really a conclusion almost at all. It's kind of just like made me feel kind of bad. I just sat there for like 5 minutes after reading the three options I had and didn't really know what to do. So it is what it is. We're going to finish it either way. But my next playthrough, I will definitely romance one of the other people because the stories are way more fleshed out. So that's a little disappointing, but I'm happy to almost be done. I can't say anything else about that game that I haven't already said. So
I bet you could.
I could, but I won't.
Ed Walton says she has a unique campaign where she voices her things in her head. So there may be more there that you're not experiencing because you're not playing as Karlach. Who knows?
Either way,
Yeah.
my experience has been frustrating. We'll say that.
Dave.
I picked up a new indie this weekend called Absolution of the Dead. Absolution of the Dead. That's it. This is an early access game by a single sole developer named Future. Or the developer studio is called Future More Games, but I believe it's just one person. And this is a really cool game. It is. I saw one person on Twitter describe it as Doom, like old Doom 2 meets COD Zombies. It's set in like an alternate kind of World War II. I'll just read the description on Steam. The Soviets have released a hell upon Europe. You wake up in a zombie-infested lab. The only way out is into the chaos of the undead. Loot, upgrade, and enhance your zombie slaughtering arsenal to make it out alive. So it's a zombie shooter, but it's in the style of like the old Doom games, and it's really fast paced. It's really cool. You die a lot. I'm really bad at it, but it's one of those games where you respawn so quickly that you just kind of want to keep playing it again and again and again. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's also cool to see this developer provide a lot of information on Twitter of what he's working on for upcoming iterations of the game, because again, it's just an early access. And one of the kind of things I set out to do this year was to play more indies and review them. So this is kind of a different angle where I'm going to review this game, but I'm also going to be able to provide feedback and kind of help this guy take my feedback and other people's feedback to improve the game as he moves toward 1.0. So yeah, Absolution of the Dead, it costs 9 Canadian loonies, so that's not a lot of American money. Definitely worth checking out on Steam. So yeah, cool game.
Dave, all that's standing between this guy, this person, and a positive review is your one review. He's at 9 reviews, all positive.
Yeah. So it's coming up. I'm
Gotta
gonna
hurry.
put him over the edge. So, and with that, I've satisfied my second resolution. So I'm putting a bow on that. There, it played out a little bit differently than I had wanted, but you know, I've more than satisfied what I set out to do. So all I have to do now is put 10 more hours in Gran Turismo 7, and I'll be done. But I'm kind of pushing it. You know, we're past Thanksgiving, as you guys know. So I don't have a lot of time left. Yeah.
Yeah, it was this week, right?
Shit, I
Dave,
missed
what if your review for this game was just, I had to play this game for a bet, and that was it?
I could put that for all the. Well, first of all, they're not bets; they're challenges. They're things you want to accomplish for yourself to feel
They're challenges, Dave? I thought they were resolutions.
fulfilled. So no, I could say that. That sounds really good, and it's true. But
Yeah.
no. The message here is check out indies, and specifically this week, it's don't be afraid to check out an early access indie, because you can provide some good feedback and help someone make a game, and yeah. So
I love early access games.
Yeah, I haven't been great at early access, especially with indies, because it's a risk, and you know, they don't have to finish the game, and you could be throwing away money. But you know, they're when it's less than $10, then why not help support a dev? So
The early access games I like are games that are essentially still full experiences. There's just more work to be done.
yeah.
I don't I'll still play them, but I don't love games that are like, here's a vertical slice, which is basically a demo that they sell.
Right.
And I understand the reasons why, but just my personal preference as a consumer,
Yeah.
I like it more when it's like, this game isn't perfect yet, but here it is.
Yeah. 100% get that. I also added to my physical library this week. I was Darksiders 4 has been announced for sometime in the near future, hopefully next year. Apart from Darksiders 3, the only game I did not own was Darksiders 2. So I was looking for this on Facebook Marketplace, and I found a guy in my town who was selling a bunch of Xbox 360 games. So I got Darksiders 2, and then I picked up a couple more bangers. Just these are ones that you just need to have in your library. The first one, the most underappreciated Assassin's Creed game. I know we shouldn't talk about Ubisoft on this show because people hate when we talk about Ubisoft because it's dumb and stupid and nobody likes it. But just for a second, the most underappreciated Assassin's Creed game, famous for coming out on the same day as another Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Rogue. This was the better of the two. And I know there's been some revisionist history with Assassin's Creed Unity, which is the other game that released on the same day as Rogue. But this was the better one. It was Black Flag meets Assassin's Creed 3, and that's a really good thing. So this is a really good game. I also picked out Red Dead Redemption. Got to have this. And the cool thing about this is he has the map in here. So I have the whole Red Dead Redemption map still in really good condition. And yeah. And I just realized I opened this and I'm like, did Red Dead Redemption 2 or did Red Dead Redemption come on 2 discs or one? It doesn't say anything, so I assume I've got both discs here, which is one disc.
Yeah, I think it just came on one, except
yeah.
for when they did the Game of the Year edition with Undead Nightmare, and then it was 2 disc in the same
Yeah.
box.
Right. And he was also selling Undead Nightmare, but I didn't get that because
You got to get it.
Yeah.
So good.
I really wanted this, so I picked up Fallout 3. Unfortunately, it's the ugly box, but that's okay. This is the other thing I've been playing this week is Fallout 3, and I'm not sure if I played Fallout 3. I know I played New Vegas. I know I played 76 and 4, and maybe because I was a PlayStation 3 gamer, and if you guys remember back in those days, when a game came out on 360 and PS3, you actually had to check like how the game performed because Bethesda games were notorious for being really good on Microsoft consoles, but not good on PS3. I think this was one of them that was really bad on PlayStation. But this game has aged really well. I was kind of surprised, but it runs really well. The voice acting still holds up. The storytelling is kind of peak, and I kind of alluded to this when we were talking about Halo, but these are the kind of games that I think a lot of studios are trying to recreate now with the experiences they're creating, and I don't know that they're really succeeding, so that's why I love going back and playing these games from my heyday. And again, when you buy physical, you get really cool, look at that, survival guide. It's in full color, you forget your cell phone when you're in the bathroom, and then you got one of these lying around. This is really good reading material. So,
Now, as an adult, though, you can't take it out and read it on the car ride home because you're driving. So,
yeah, you got to pull over for that. But yeah, so really liking Fallout 3. But this was not the most significant gaming purchase I made on the weekend. Any guesses? I'll give you a hint. The other one was GameCube related.
I don't know. Resident Evil.
No. Brandon, any guesses?
Brawl?
No. It's kind of a trick question because it's not a video game. It is the granddaddy of controllers. I got a Wavebird.
Nice.
Oh shit.
Yeah, this was. I know a lot of people kind of scoffed at the GameCube controller, but I think this was the first great wireless controller, first party that ever came out, and they're not cheap.
Yeah.
But considering the setup that I had with my GameCube, unfortunately having a wired controller kind of prevented me from really playing as much as I wanted. So had my eye on one of these for a while. Finally picked one up from my dealer, and yeah, these things they're cool. Obviously today's wireless controllers are just as good, but Yeah, the Wavebird was a pretty impressive piece of tech when it came out in the early 2000s. So yeah, finally got it,
Hell yeah.
and that's it.
Ed Casty in chat says, very dorky thing for me to know that RDR1 Goatee on PS3 was just one disc, power of the Blu-ray disc. I think you are correct. I think that there was Red Dead, and then they did one with Undead Nightmare, like I don't know if it was a separate disc at the time. Then they did the Red Dead Game of the Year edition on PS3, and then they did two separate greatest hits. I don't know which one was first and which one was second, but I think they had like extra left over from the Undead Nightmare that they then made into a dual pack for PS3. I believe, I could be mistaken, that I have them both. If I do, I will double check and send it to you. And I very well could be wrong and misremembering. I know on Xbox 360, it was two discs. I'm fairly certain there were both versions for the PS3 because of some weird like manufacturing thing, but I could be totally misremembering, but I don't think so. What just happened? I have message deleted by a moderator in the chat.
We're
Mod
being
check.
hacked. We're being hacked.
Are we cooked?
Oh, it just says he is correct. I don't know what he's
chat-
referring to.
The chat was being weird.
Okay. That's it, boys. That's all we got. I didn't mention it at the top of the show. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/handsomephantom. You can also hang out with us at handsomephantom.com/discord. We'd love to see you in one place or the other or both. And otherwise, that's all we got. Ed says I have the Goatee collection in my addition to my collection. Yeah, I just got done saying I have it too. But I also said I could be wrong. But I'm pretty certain there were two versions of it. Maybe I should have made that my goal, to collect every edition of Red Dead, because that would have been a lot easier than every Duke Nukem game ever made. I don't know if that's going to happen organically. I'm going to have to go on eBay and buy some of them. But that's okay. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Good night.
See you next time.